Oh, it's going 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Hey everybody, it's Jon Kovach with Amplified Minds, and joining me today on the Circle of Knowledge is my good friend, colleague, peer, and master of sales. The video has stopped. Let's take a pause for a minute. Finish that up. Actually, we'll just keep rolling this one. How about that? Your live browser, ended up. Okay, let's go back again.
Facebook is not our friend.
Facebook is not a friend. But hey, we're on the podcast here, and we're going to jump in just a minute. But we're excited to talk to you about a few cool things today. So, podcast recording. Awesome.
How's it going?
Technical difficulties. Oh, did it recognize you?
I guess so.
Wow, look at that. Facebook, you are creepy as heck. Circle of Knowledge. Awesome. All right, let's try this again. Go live. In 3, 2. We're still live on me. That's awesome. Hey, for joining us, I'm super excited to be here. Again, let's do this again in 3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome. This is Jon Kovach Jr. with Amplified Minds, and joining me on the Circle of Knowledge podcast today is my good friend, peer, colleague, and family member, Jake Kovach. He's also one of our sales managers over at Amplified Minds. But we are here on a Saturday morning, excited to record the Circle of Knowledge episode, covering a topic. I'm surprised we actually haven't ever covered this book or topic before, but I think it's going to be a really fun mastermind discussion. So before we get in to that, and before we talk about that book, let's introduce Jake and have him tell a little bit more about himself. And then we'll dive into our book. But before that, hey Jake, tell the world who you are and what you're doing and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, for sure. So currently I am a sales and marketing major at the LDS Business College. I am in my second to last semester. So next semester will be my last and final semester at the LDS BC. Currently trying to figure out where I want to transfer to and all that jazz. As John said, I'm working here at Amplified Minds, having a blast. A few things that I'm passionate about are, meeting new people, figuring out where I kind of belong. That's one of my passions. It's a weird passion of mine. I want to figure out kind of where I belong in this world and what I can do to make it better. And I guess I just love meeting new people, figuring that out, and just connecting with as many people as I can. And I like doing masterminds. So that's one of my other passions is the masterminds that I do host as well down in Orem. So, but yeah.
In one of our recent masterminds down in Orem, called this one was just a sales training mastermind, but we also do a mastermind through Jake called Connect Mastermind, and it's for young entrepreneurs and anyone else, business owners, to come and learn and to grow and to use the mastermind platform that we have established through the curriculum given through good old Mr. Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. And anyways, it was just a week ago. We were talking in a mastermind, and I asked everybody in the mastermind to introduce themselves in the third person, to talk about yourself as if you were removing yourself from the equation and to talk about yourself in the highest highlights. And Jake did something. He's getting better. He did something a little similar. He talked about what he's working on and whatnot, and I think that's awesome. I think our journeys become our story, right? And so we talk about where we're headed. I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of the times, instead of telling them what I've done or what I've accomplished or what my accolades are, I focus on what I'm working towards, kind of what's in my vision board, and I like to do that. And that's kind of his vision too, is to finish school, but to also start businesses, to be an entrepreneur, and to help people and connect with them, which is what Jake's doing. So it's pretty cool. So I had to add that because it's like we're growing and we're learning how to improve ourselves as well as we learn how to connect with people.
Absolutely.
So, which brings us to the discussion today about the book that we're going to cover. The book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Like I said, this is one of those books that everyone has read, but we haven't covered it yet, and we haven't talked about it. And there are so many principles. This could be like a 6-day course, because the Dale Carnegie series is just an incredible organization, and this book has an incredible series of things. But there were some things that we were talking about that really brought us to think and want to mastermind a little bit deeper, because while the book explains some very, very great concepts, we wanted to kind of take our own light and just elaborate on it a little bit more. So The way that we're going to be doing this is we're going to just talk about some principles. And Jake actually handpicked a section, I think it's in section 2 of the book or something like that.
So, yeah.
And there are 6 principles or 6 ways to make people like you, okay? And I kind of wanted to go one by one, and let's just mastermind them and talk a little bit about it. And maybe if you are listening to this, we hope that you'll take notes. But one, we hope that you'll go buy the book or listen to the book or read the book, because it is an incredible book, and it's one that it's kind of like a business Bible. Okay, if you want to be in business, you've got to learn how to make friends and influence people. Because if you can't, there is no possible way that you are going to be successful. Unless you're a Elon Musk genius and you like to hide in a corner and then let everyone else do your work for you. And then Elon Musk, if you're listening, and I hope you are, give me a call. We have a lot to talk about. That's kind of the thing we do here on the show is we introduce these authors and speakers and also the celebrities of the world, and we tell them that, you know, we hope that they listen, and if they do, hey, give me a call. We have a lot to talk about. So let's talk about the first principle, Jake. And let's kind of like go section by section, but I really want to cover a little bit about everything. Let's just kind of brainstorm and talk about it as a congenial discussion about the 6 ways to make people like you. What would you say the first one is?
So I think, I've read the book multiple times, and I feel like one of the most important things is just getting people just to generally, have general interest in people. Being able to just show yourself and just be all like, hey, I'm here for you. What can I do to help you? Right? So what we need to do is, when we're meeting people, is just be genuinely interested. I mean, there's nothing really, it's kind of a very broad topic, but it's just so specific. You want to be generally interested. But I think, I don't know, maybe we could go through some things that, how can we be generally interested in people? Because there's just so many ways just to be generally interested. It all just matches into one.
So I'm walking down the street, and somebody is reading a sign that I am also interested in, and I stop to read the sign as well. And we both are standing next to each other and pondering, oh wow, that's interesting. And I turn to the person and I say, what do you think of that? Or, what's my first initial response to engage in conversation? Because I think first people get stuck up on is actually opening their mouths, right? Mm-hmm. Where we get stuck on the analysis of the paralysis of the analysis, where it's like, oh, they probably don't want to talk to me. I probably don't need to talk to them. I'm stuck in my shoes. I'm now paralyzed because I don't know what to do. Right. But I would need to open my mouth. But typically, what's the first thing that you would say if you were to just meet a stranger on the street and want to connect with them because you have something of similar interest?
Normally, so I'll just say a little bit about me for just a second. I'm very avid in fishing, right? I love to go fishing. I was just out fishing yesterday. I'm probably going to go this afternoon. But some of the things that, when I meet somebody out there that likes to go fishing, I like to just, find something about them that kind of just connects me to them, right? And I want to be as interested as I can. So when I was out fishing yesterday, I was out there with my buddy, and I saw these kids that were kind of fishing next to us, and they didn't really look like they knew what they were doing. And me being, the prideful person that I am about fishing, I had caught a few fish that day, and I was all like, you know what, I've caught a crap ton of fish here recently, and these guys haven't caught a thing. So I walked up to them and I go, hey guys, what are you guys using? And that's one of the simplest ways just to connect with somebody, because one, you're kind of being interested, hey, what are you using? As if maybe what they're using is more better than what you're using. And so I'll walk up to them and just be like, hey, what are you guys using and stuff like that? What is something that you feel is gonna catch more fish here? But more on a networking type way, especially at school for me, because being at the business school, we're always networking with everybody. A lot of people want to start their own businesses, and I'll just walk up to them and say, what got you into what you do, right? And that's just a very personal question, because people are all like, why does he want to know what I want to do? And it's because I'm here and I want to help you get to where you want to be, right? And I don't care if I can't help you in any way. I just want to find a way that I can help you. One of the things that we talked about in my third person part was at the meeting this past week was that I'm a relator. I like to relate myself with other people, and I feel like that is a great way to be generally interested in people, is that if you can find something that you like and that they like, then you'll have more to talk about, because you obviously have a general interest right there. So just being like generally interested in people by, I say asking questions that are like, I don't even really know, just like something that's gonna start a conversation. I don't really know a good question to ask, but because it's just different for every person pretty much. I kind of have to get a feel for it and then, you know, cast out there and be like, hey.
I think most people get stuck on, and no one really likes small talk. I mean, let's all agree there. Does anyone really like small talk? Hey, sky's blue today. Yeah, it is.
Cool.
Cool, right? That doesn't get us anywhere. But Jake brought up a good point that if you ask in questions that are authentic, that lead to conversation, that lead to getting to know something about somebody, I think that always drives value. And that's the thing is, we have to unlearn everything we know or have learned or have been taught about networking, because everything you've been taught about networking is be professional, look sharp, don't mess up, say the right questions, make sure you don't sell them right away. Like all of those things, you just need to unlearn them. Okay, that part of your brain, just take it out and throw it in the trash, because everything you know about making relationships, okay, everything you know about having a conversation with a professional, a human being, your parents, your sisters, your brothers, just anyone you know, having great conversations, we yearn for that as humans, okay? We want to be part of communities. We yearn for great communication. So just focus on communicating great. You said the great question, when I'm fishing, ask a question that's related. Well, if I was standing next to a guy that's reading the same sign, I'd be like, man, what do you take away from that? Maybe that's a great question instead of, hey, what's your name? What's your number? Where do you live? Where are you going? I lived in the Philippines for a couple of years, and they taught us some greetings. And anytime you learn a foreign language, they're like, oh, okay, well, I want to be able to communicate, so I want to learn greetings. And some of the greetings are like, how are you? What's your name? Where are you from? Where are you going? Where did you come from? All of those things are like they're kind of small talk. Okay, let's get off of the surface and let's dive a little deeper. Okay. I remember a conversation with a good friend. I hadn't spoken to him in years. And we get on the phone, and my first question is what's your passion project now? I know that we've changed, and things have been way different since when we last talked. What's your passion project? And that question right there is going to give me a little bit insight about who they are, what they're working on, who they've become because of all the years between us, and so forth. So I think it's a good point. Mm-hmm. Just being a person, you guys. Unlearn everything you've learned about networking and being professional and trying to strike up conversations, and just be human. Yep. Oh, I love it. Robin Scott just popped in on our feed, and she said that open-ended questions are always best. I love that. Okay, and I will challenge that too, just because it's the nature of me, and I like to challenge things before I accept them. Not that I'm challenging you, Robin, but I want to say that is absolutely correct. And at the same time, open-ended questions that create an elicited response. Okay, I can ask what do you think about God? That's an open-ended question. I'm not looking for anything in general, but they could be like, weird question, right? But you're exactly right. In the open-ended questions mean you need to elicit a response, something a little bit more full of life and a little bit more than just good, fine, I'm okay, Yeah. And plus, I don't know if you guys actually think about this, but if you ever ask the question, how are you? And then you know exactly what they're going to say, but you asked it anyways because it's the filler. That's when you know you're not asking the right questions. Mm-hmm. So I love it, Jake.
And to go along with that, I see also that Robin said, just be you. That is probably the biggest thing. Like I said, I'm studying sales right now. About to get my associate's degree in sales, which, it's not even really a degree anymore. It's all mashed in with marketing. But in that I am one of the last people at my college to be able to get a sales degree. The biggest thing is you just have to be you. If you are going out there and you're just all like, hi, my name is Jake, I want to sell you this product. You can't build, and one of the things that we talk about is the triangle. Levi McPherson, he talks about it a lot.
The levels of influence.
Yeah, the level of influence,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Building perpetual relationships, but you can't do that if you're not being you. You have to be able to be yourself. Now, believe it or not, I'm a very introverted person. I hate talking. I'm not a big fan of doing this kind of stuff.
Which is why I bring him in.
Exactly, yeah. But I am trying to, get out of my shell. So I actually lived over in the UK on a church service mission. And that was probably the biggest thing, just getting out of my comfort zone because I was living in a different country, right? And I had to be myself because I can't be a fake person over in another country. Like, that's like, then they come and meet me over here or whatever, and they're just like, what the heck, what happened to you? You're like, what, you're British now and you're American over here. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. If I'm just myself at all times, that works. Which kind of brings me to my next point is smile. That is the biggest thing. If you are ever able to just smile at somebody, that is the biggest thing, right? If you smile at somebody, they feel something that they probably didn't feel for the beginning of their day or for the rest of their day. It's just that in the moment, a smile can change somebody's life, just for that day or for the rest of that time, right? And being able to do all of that and just smile, getting to genuinely know somebody and then just smile while you're talking to them, it's just I don't even understand how it works. Like, it's just a simple smile, and just how it can change somebody from one section to the other. It just works. And I think that's just something that we were like given when we were born, right? We're given this mouth, obviously, to shove food down our mouth, but able to just take a smile and just smile at somebody, and you just make somebody's day. One of the things for one of my classes for sales is the biggest thing is just to smile, right? When you're trying to generally get to know somebody, when you're trying to build perpetual relationships, is just plain smile. Like, we practice smiling. When I was out doing door-to-door sales, I'd put a pencil in my mouth and just force myself to smile, just so that when I got up to a door, I could knock on the door and they'd open it up and I'd just have a smile on my face. But obviously I wouldn't have the pencil in my mouth right then and there, and that would just look kind of weird. But in between doors, I just put a pencil in my mouth and just force myself to smile. And by the end of the day, my mouth would just hurt so bad that it just felt good to smile. Like, it would hurt just to be like straight face. You just have to smile. So smiling is just probably one of the biggest parts of not just sales, but just getting to know people. You just gotta smile. That's the biggest thing.
I don't know if this is a myth. This is the stupid stuff that people teach you growing up, and they say it's actually it works more of your muscles to frown than it does to smile. And I don't know if that's a real thing. I think that's just what like grandma tells us when we're never smiling for pictures or whatnot. But I think Jake brings up some really cool stuff too, because all right, so a little bit of background, and I get kind of nerdy about this, but we've got currently about 15,000 listeners on our podcast, which is awesome. Thank you for being a part of the Circle of Knowledge, and let's get you on the show. That's my invitation to everybody. But as an audience, I want to give you kind of some demographics here. Those demographics include 90% of them are found in the United States, and I can tell you which states those are, but there's a bunch of them. And then there's a large portion of the 10 remaining percent in Canada. There's a few in Asia, there's a few in South America, and then surprisingly, there's a few in Europe, but none in Russia. And let me tell you that the reason why I bring this up and why it's relevant is because you said smile. And in some cultures, when you smile at people, it's inappropriate. Right? When you smile at them in public, okay? But you've got to generate a relationship first. So I love it. And we're not talking about how to greet people. That's not the conversation we're having. We're talking about the ways to make people like you. So once you've initiated conversation, or once you are have attracted an environment and fostered an environment for you to be able to communicate and connect with someone on a deeper level, smiling is like mandatory, man. Because if you just have a straight face the whole time, I mean, who wants to talk to this face? I wouldn't want to talk to this face, okay? My wife wouldn't want to talk to this face, okay? If you have the opportunity to win friends and influence people, smiling is a key part of that. No matter what your culture is, okay? I know that my friends in Russia, I love you guys, my friends in Russia, and my wife has spent some time there as well. And in public, you never smile, right? You don't smile at people, otherwise they're going to be thinking something else. But when you become friends, when you become a valuable connection to each other, that's where the exchanges become. Yep. So I love that. What's the next principle? I'm fired up. We're talking about this.
So the next principle is you just got to remember their name, right? If you walk up to somebody, let's say you go into a store. And this is probably like one of my favorite examples is I go into a store, yo, what's up, Elder Zagara? He's one of my best friends. And
nice.
We've got Eric as well. Heck yeah, let's go.
Yep.
One of my favorite things is, so I used to work at Smith's or Kroger, whatever you guys call it. And one of my favorite things was there was a guy, he was from Poland, who worked at the store that I worked at. And me and him, I don't know what it was, but we just kind of hit it off. And it was probably because of my last name, and he just thought it was Polish, and he kind of like took me under his wing as like his grandson and whatever. And my favorite thing ever is that, and beside like just me and everything, but like beside that, every time a person would walk in, he'd immediately say their name. He'd go, "Hey, Mr. So-and-so, how's it going today?" Or, "Hey, Miss So-and-so, how's it going today?" And like immediately they'd be all like, "Oh," and forgive me, I am blanking on his name right now, but they'd walk in and go, "Oh, I'm so grateful that you remembered my name." And like he'd always say, "Is there anything that you need help finding today? Is there anything that you need?" Just that simple, like, "Hey, Mr. So-and-so, hey, Miss So-and-so." I know it's like a Texas thing to say Mr. and Mrs., but like as well as like it should be like a worldwide thing. But if I walked in and like, let's say I didn't know John, he wasn't my cousin or anything. It was just I saw him on the side of the road and I'd go, "Hey, John, how's it going?" Like that would immediately, one, put a smile on their face, and two, it would just immediately connect you. You'd be all like, "Oh yeah, I remember you. You're from, this place." And it was who's the memory guy that came to the...
I was just about to say, it's Bob Cattell, everybody. Bob Cattell, you can find him on social media at Bob Memory. Keep going.
Yeah, so he came to our one of the prosperity gyms that we go to, and he was doing a kind of like a, I don't even know what you call it, like a exercise where you kind of match something with their face or something about them to remember their name. Right, and I've kind of started using this. I am terrible with names. Like, it is the worst thing ever. I would be at school and someone walk up to me and be like, "Hey, Jake, how's it going?" I'm all like, "All right, you were in one of my classes. It was my Business 101 class. That was 5 semesters ago. I'm honest, I don't remember your name." And, like, it's funny. Sometimes I'll sit there and be all like, "Oh, yeah, we should totally connect. I'll just play along." And as, like, I'm all like, "Yo, what's your phone number?" Like, and I'll go, "So how do you spell your name?" And they'll just be all like, it's Jake. Like I'm Jake as well. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, that's my bad. I didn't mean." He's just all like, "Oh yeah." But if you remember people's names, you're gonna be able to connect with them more. And like all this, I mean, these are gonna help you make people like you. I mean, we have 2 more things that we can talk about, but I feel like the first 3 are kind of the most important parts. And honestly, like, not to put Dale Carnegie down or anything, but this should have been just like the first thing. You open it up. Should have been like the first thing that's right off the bat. You open up the book and it goes, "How to make people like you." I'm pretty sure, I think it was chapter 6 is when he actually brings this in.
Wow.
But this should have been like the first thing, right? And I read this book when I was over in the UK doing my service mission, and I was trying to figure out different ways like to make people and trying to help me just get people interested in kind of what I was talking about, because obviously, religion isn't a very prominent thing over in Europe. For those of you that are in Europe, you probably know it's kind of on the downhill. A lot of people, they aren't really religious over there that much, but if you're able to help people get connected, that's something that you can be connected with. If you grew up with a religion and you knew someone else that had a religion, you can connect with them that way. That's the different ways. But if you remember people's names, you ask them questions about themselves, which is one of the other sections of that we'll talk about, and then you just plain smile at them, you're always going to be able to get people just to want to connect with you, right? If I saw John after, let's say, again, like I didn't know John previous, and he just came up to me in the street, right, one day, and I remembered his name from that point, and then a few weeks later I saw him again, I'd be like, "Hey John, how's it going? How's your business going?" Right? And that's just one, like, again, that's like an open-ended question. Like we said, it's, we want to have open-up questions. We want to just be ourselves, be able to ask these kind of questions. So yeah.
In a mastermind conference over the last few days I've been involved in, they talked about the importance of using people's names, and I think from the top down to the bottom, I worked for a great CEO, and he would walk in and he would make the rounds and he would call everyone out by name, and man, did people rally behind that guy. I remember every day working for Lou Kramer because Lou Kramer remembered me, and he made it his purpose every morning to come shake my hand, rub my shoulder a little bit, and say, "Hey John, how you doing today?" And that made me feel amazing. I was just an intern, guys. I was like the bottom scum of the scum. Like my office was literally next to the mailroom where no one could find me. But man, I love that, and I think that principle is so important. Hey, and you know what? Why don't we apply this purpose while we're on the show here, we have some comments and people who have jumped in, and I kind of want to read their comments. I know that you can read them yourself, but as people have jumped on, I'd love to just say a quick shout out to everybody. So Bailey Risley, thank you for joining us. Jordan Oso, great to see you again. Kevin, I'm glad you're here, man. Colin, hey brother, good to see you. Tabitha Warris is here. Javine Lane, one of my favorite professionals and a woman I want to work with, and many of you should work with, an incredible coach and a consultant. Gian Andres, that's our Gian. That's your friend Gian. Wow, I love Gian. He's great. Gian Jacone, Eric, and I'm gonna Eric Tshimpe. Eric, I love you, man. I'm sorry I messed up your name. Eric, he said go Kovach. We got Gian's and Jake. You are awesome, man. Glad I brought Jake on the show because he makes everyone feel better. Gian said, smile. Love you guys. Keep rocking it. Love the info. Javine, this is a great thing. Javine said, the art of business networking is to understand that being truly interested in the other person creates an environment where people want to connect with you. Wow. Yes, absolutely. Fostering a relationship where people actually want to connect back with you. If you're kind of a standoffish person, or if you create a vibe that's not warming and welcoming, man, I love that. That is not just for business. That is like life lesson in itself. Thanks, Javine. Gian says, in Peru, smiling is everything. It's a warm culture down here. Well, it's also pretty warm down there, so. And then Gian also said, we smile even to the lady on the at the store. That's fun. I love that. We've got Adela Scabalend. Adela. Oh, I know you, Adela. That's great. Jan always had a hard time remembering names till I went to one of your events. That helped me so much on a daily basis. Thanks for that, by the way. Okay, I'm going to shout out to that because that's amazing. Bob Kittel, B-O-B, Bob, okay? Bob is the memory guy, but Bob is also an incredible public speaker. This guy has spoken on the stage with Tony Robbins, and guess what? He's a local here in Utah. So if you're from Utah, I can introduce you. But Bob is a great guy. We go golfing with him. We love to have breakfast with him. He's an incredible man. And he can teach you those tactics. And then Dennis, hey, great to have you. So I hope that helps because we need to practice what we're preaching, right? If we don't say your names, you're not feeling valued. So thanks for being on the show, everybody, and thanks for helping us out. We're going to take a little break here, a little bit of silence, because we're gonna split this episode into 2 breaks. But as a result of this, I want to thank you for being on the show. We're going to take the next segment, and we're going to cover the last 2 principles that we wanted to get to. And I just realized something, that we said 6 ways to make people like you, and we have 5 points. So there's a 6th one on the way, and you'll have to read the book to find out. How about that? Because these are the principles, the 5 principles we wanted to talk to you about. Okay, so back from the break. Welcome to the Circle of Knowledge podcast. My name is Jon Kovach Jr., and I'm here today with our sales manager at Amplified Minds, Jake Kovach. Jake, say hello to everybody.
How's it going, guys?
And we're having a great discussion about Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So if you're just tuning in, we hope you'll catch up on some of the content here. This is a great, fun Saturday morning for us because there's no one in the office, there's no distractions. We can kind of have some fun. Look, I've got a hat on, my hair is just nasty. We didn't even shower. Jake's ready to go fishing. I'm in just, like shorts and flip-flops. We are totally casual today. But we are super excited to elicit conversation regarding winning friends and influencing people. Now, I love the term influence because it has kind of become an interesting word today. When you see somebody and their name registers as an influencer, they claim to be an influencer online or an influencer on social media, we typically immediately think as these people have made it, they have thousands of followers, they have the ability to post something and make money off of it. These guys do not have to try. And these are typically good people to have alliances with because they're going to connect you with 2 larger audiences, right? But let me tell you a problem with that. There's a problem with that because just because you have thousands of followers doesn't make you an influencer. People follow to just follow. People have interests because of likes and dislikes. I follow so many people I dislike because I like learning from my enemies. You know what I mean? I also follow the people who I want to follow. But here's what I hate about it is if I introduce you to my audience, okay, I have an audience of about 250 people that come to a monthly mastermind. That's our running list, not the total attendance at one session. And at this mastermind, if I were to introduce you to my audience, who's going to say that my audience will buy from you? Because my audience may not need what you have. All right, so just be open-minded, right? So influence isn't necessarily an easy transaction. That's what I'm getting at, okay? Influence is the ability to create value. And that's something that we're always, always, always going to stress, okay? So back to the book, How to Win Friends, Influence People, Dale Carnegie, Part 2. There's 2 more principles of ways to get people to like you, to make people like you, all right? We've talked about a few things. Be genuine in conversation and open up with great, not surface level, but deeper conversations, asking great questions. The second principle was to smile. And then the third principle, which should have been the first above all things on chapter 1, sentence 1, was, remember their names. When people remember your names, whether you like your name or not, deep down or out loud, people love hearing their name. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a huge principle. Jake?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
I agree.
I had to throw it out there. The next principle we wanted to talk about is talk on terms of the other person's interests. So I love this, and I want to give Jake a chance to talk because I could talk all day about it, but talk about other people's interests, all right? When you meet people and your intent is to network, connect, and to build value and influence with those people, don't talk about what you like. Ask them what you like and find a way to relate to them. I'm going to hand it over to Jake for some comments on that because he's a really good relator. And he usually, that's actually one of his superpowers. He can find things that people do that he can relate to himself, whether it's agreeing with them, finding the common ground, or just finding general interest or stories in regards to it. But I want to pass it on to him that, finding common interest between people is a super key way to make people like you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm first going to talk about some of the ways that maybe you don't want to do this, right? So you've got those that you find someone, okay, we'll put it in an example. You find someone at a networking event. Obviously, you are there to kind of put your name out there. You're there to maybe sell a product. You're out there, whatever. There's a lot of things that you can do at these networking events. One of the things that you don't want to do when it comes to relating with people is you don't want to walk up to them and be like, well, we'll do like a little role play here. You don't want to walk up to John and just be like, hey, John, how's it going? My name's Jake. I'm out here with Amplified Minds, right? We've got a few products out here. Which one do you think you'd be interested in, right? And that's just proving to yourself that you are interested in yourself. You're there for you. There's a lot of, and I don't know how many of you have heard the comedian Brian Regan. He's got a skit out there that's talking about the me monster. He's out there talking about, me, myself, I'm out here for me. This is all me. I'm out here just to do this for myself. Like, I'm out here to gain personal gain, right? That's not how it is, right? I want to come in and just be like, hey, John, tell me about what you do, right? Tell me about the things that you are interested in. Tell me about other things, right? And I want to be able to take what he's said and find something. It may not even be related in any way, but I, at least for myself, I want to do everything I can to find a way to relate to that because it's going to build more rapport after it, right? He's going to remember me because I remembered things that he remembered and was able to connect with things. I'm currently talking to one of my buddies, and he, again, I'm big into fishing. I don't know why, how, or what got me into it, but I was talking to one of my buddies, and I said, hey man, I like to go fishing and stuff, and you like to, I'm blanking on what he likes to do right now, but again, that's a bad example, because obviously I did not build enough rapport with him, but he did this whole process to me, right? He found something that I liked, that he tried to build a relation to it, and he asked me, he's like, man, you should take me fishing sometime, and of course for me, I'm all like, heck yeah, an excuse to go fishing and to be with one of my friends and possibly build a relationship from this, heck yeah, let's go do it. That hasn't happened yet, but something that he did was he found something that I liked, something that maybe he wants to do, and then kind of built off of that. So he kind of used my own process onto me. And I thought that was kind of interesting, so then I kind of took that and I was all like, well, I have a goal of meeting 5 new people a day, whether that be through Shaper or just running into them on the street. And what I want to do through that is just to find something that they're interested in, that I'm interested in as well, so that I can take that and just relate back to them. Because if I'm doing that, people like to be related to. They don't like to be related from, right? You don't want to be, that didn't make any sense, but you don't want to be like, hey, I like doing this and you like doing that as well, so I think we should be friends. yeah, it can work. You can build some good relationships, but you want to be all like, hey, that's really cool that you do that. I've kind of done that. Let's see how this works. I'm kind of getting into motorcycles right now, which my mom does not approve of. And I have a friend he's got a motorcycle. He's got a few motorcycles, and I sat there. I walked up to him and I go, dude, you sell motorcycles for a living, right? You build them and everything like that. Can you tell me if this Honda CB300R or whatever it is, like, is that something good for me as a first-time motorcyclist? And he's all like, and he just went on, right? And that's something, because that's his business. If you can relate to somebody that has a business of something that you're interested in, they're just going to fly off, right? It's like going on a date with somebody, and you just say one thing, and they just go. Like, for me as a guy and as being a very big introvert, that is my favorite thing ever, because I just found a question they're just going to fly off of, and they're just not going to stop talking, and I just sit there and listen, because I'm a listener. I'm a relator/listener. I like listening to people. I like, that's part of the reason why I'm an introvert. Like, when I was doing my church mission, like, I was a listener the entire time. Like, I'd sit there and listen to every little thing, and then I'd just say something big, and they'd be all like, holy crap, I did not think about that. Like, that's totally different than what I'm thinking about. And so just being able to relate to people in any way possible is just going to build so much perpetual relationships. That's probably like one of the biggest things for me right now is just building those perpetual relationships. That's what I want to do, is find these relationships and just go for it. Whether that be through dating or through networking events. Find something that other people like that I can go through, and maybe, hey, let me find something, like I may have somebody that I can connect you with that is going to help you build your business. And these are just some of the ideas that I have. I'm sure I'd love for you guys just to comment some of your ideas as well. I like, I've never really done these before, so I think it'd be cool if we had like some interaction as well. Like, what are you guys' ideas on how to relate to other people? And while you guys think of that, we can kind of talk about, I don't know if John wants to talk about that a little bit more. But I feel like the next section, I'm blanking on it, I can't read it backwards. Yeah, so that section relates to the kind of getting interest, kind of relates to the next one, is you want to make the person feel important. And I think John's really good at that.
Well, thank you. You are important to me, Jake.
Thank you.
I wanted to add an additional context to that, because we do live in a digital age. And in this digital age, a lot of us are totally content staying in our rooms, our offices, our hotels, our houses, whatever, and not going outside and networking. We've kind of lost the art of communication as a culture because of mobile devices, because of technology, and so forth. Now, there are some incredible people out there who have a myriad of skills, including the communication and so forth. But let's talk about, to some of our listeners who hate talking to people, who are more introverted like you, Jake, and they're not brave enough, or they have a little bit of fear to go out and actually make conversation. You can apply these principles online so easily. In fact, there's an easier way to do it online, because people wear their hearts on their sleeves. They wear their resume, their background. They wear it all, unless they're like Provo, Utah girl or boy that says I'm an influencer, right? We joke about that, okay? And if you are one of those people, call me, because I have some rebuttals for you. But I'd love to learn and challenge and learn more. But let's say you're online, okay? A big place to network and to find other professionals that are either potentially your customers, partners, or future relationships is LinkedIn, okay? And LinkedIn is a great place to practice these, because you get a bio. Basically, they say, "Hi, my name is Jon Kovach Jr., president of Amplified Minds," and then below it says public speaker, coach, entrepreneur, public relations strategist, okay? All of those things gives a little bit of background. And then I have to provide a bio. So instead of going in and, blasting them with information about my business, here's a couple links, go visit this, and I hope you buy from me, that turns me off. I delete every single one of those emails. And if you've tried to reach out to me, I'm sorry, but you don't build a relationship with me, okay? But when people reach out and they say, "Hey, John, I love what you're doing. The background that I looked at your website or your page is amazing. Can you tell me a little bit more about," and then using what Jake said is relating it to them. I'm a public speaker, so people ask me all the time, well, how do you get over the fear of public speaking? And I said, I have a series of answers for that. But I could go on escapades of novels to respond to that, because they related something to me. And I will do that in reverse. So think of it this way. Instead of going in and saying, hey, my name is Jake, I'm a sales manager for Amplified Minds, as soon as he says sales manager, they're like, dude, this guy's trying to sell me, right? Mm-hmm. But the second he goes in and says, hey, John, tell me a little bit more about your business. Are you able to travel? Do you speak? Do you do stuff online? Like, how has your experience as a speaker been? Oh, man, dude, I am going to fill him with information, I'll tell you, okay? But it's so important that you begin with relating to these people. And I think that's an important concept. You can do online, offline, in person, over the phone, anywhere, okay? You need to be able to develop that skill so that you better understand how to get people to like you and to make friends and valuable relationships that lead to business and progression. That's kind of my thought. Same thing with dating. Okay, this is not a dating show, but if you're on like Tinder, if you're on like any of the other apps out there, if you're creating relationships through connecting apps and stuff, it is so great for you to connect with them using these principles, and you can do them because you have a little bit of insight based on who they are, based on their presentation and bio. Pretty cool stuff. So Jake, what's the last principle we wanted to talk about?
So the last principle we want to talk about, and obviously there's one more because it's 6 ways, and we kind of said that earlier. There's 6 ways, but we have 5 up there. The last principle we want to talk about is we want to make everyone feel important, right? I want, again, John left me, so I'm all alone now, but I want to make everybody that I meet feel as important as I possibly can. Now, all of that, since this is kind of like the last-ish principle through that, I want to be able to take everything. I want to remember their name. That's going to make them feel important. I want to do everything I can to find their interests to make them feel as important as I can. If you just smile at somebody, it's going to make them feel as important as I can. Where did I just...
Yes.
Saw a thing.
It's going to make them feel important.
It'll make them feel important. One of the things that I've heard that some people are doing now is, and I won't say names, but one of my friends is going to go out and he's going to live with the homeless people for 3 days. And that is just, that just blows my mind, because I just don't feel that I personally, I don't feel that I can do that.
You're not called to that, but that's
right.
Really cool.
Yeah, and it's not something that I feel like I'm called to, but I've heard of actually a few people that actually want to go and do that. And I feel like, that's making those people feel important. Like, they may not be as blessed as we are to have a car, to have a home, to have an office that we can go to have these electronics to where we can connect with people, like John said, throughout pretty much the entire world, right? They're going to go and make these people feel important, right? You're going to be able to go out there, they're going to be able to share something with them, share a common reality with them. Like, these people are out on the street. They have to live day by day. Same as we are, but their calling is just a little bit different. They just have some different challenges that we don't really have to go through. But we all have challenges, right? But we have to make people feel important. If we just go out there and I just find someone random on the street and say, hey, man, you're cool, that's going to make them feel important. I'll give an example. So when I was driving up here from the valley coming up the mountain, there was a guy in a Ferrari 458.
What color was it?
It was red. And he was flying up the canyon. And me being myself, I'm really big into cars. I used to work for Dodge, and I used to love driving all their super fast cars and everything like that. I was driving up the canyon. I was going faster than this guy because, of course, I just had to, show my dominance. My little Subaru is better than your Ferrari, which is not. It's not in any way. My Subaru goes 0 to 60 in like 15 minutes, and so this guy, he's flying down. We're kind of going the same speed. We're kind of pacing each other. And this cop just comes out of nowhere. Keep in mind, I am going faster than this Ferrari. The cop pulls over the Ferrari. Why? Because it's a Ferrari. Like, what? I'm 100% sure that police officers now, hey, if you're a police officer, message me, because this is my theory, right? You guys see a nice car, you got to pull them over, right? I don't know if it's like a pride thing, like you show back up at the office, be like, yo, I pulled over a Ferrari today, right? But I felt so bad for this guy, and so I kept on coming up the canyon, and the guy ended up catching up to me at a red light, and I rolled down my window. He was in a convertible. I rolled down my window, and at first I was like, dude, nice car. And he was like, hey, thanks, man. It made him feel important, right? And then I go, so why'd you get pulled over? I was just curious. And he goes, I don't know, man. You were going faster than me, so why did I get pulled over? I was like, I think it's because you have a Ferrari. He's all like, yeah, I get that a lot. And I go, you know, it's all right, man, because I feel you. I used to drive, like, nice cars when I worked at the dealership. I mean, they're not, like, Ferraris. They're, like, Chargers and Challengers and stuff. But these guys, I mean, I just felt so bad for this guy. I just wanted to make his day in some way. You know, just, like, I was all like, hey, man, you know, I understand where you're coming from. Not that I drive a Ferrari every single day, but I understand, right? People like nice cars. Police officers like nice cars. So this police officer was like, yo, I'm going to pull this guy over just so I can go up and get next to it, you know, lean on it a little bit just so I can, you know, get inside of it a little bit. But I just wanted to make this guy feel important. I saw him pull up and I go, dude, nice car. And that's a way. You can make people important in the simplest ways possible. You could walk up to somebody and just be like, yo, I like your shoes. If you compliment people, and now that's another section of the book is just complimenting and making people, you know, I forget what the section's called, but it just, do whatever you can to just make that person feel like you are like a god to them. You were there and you're just all like, yo, you are the coolest person I have ever met. Like, you drive a Ferrari, you must be cool, right? And like, they may not even be cool. They may be the biggest douchebags in the world, but you walked up to them and said, hey, you have a nice car, you must be cool, you must make a lot of money, right? And, you know, who knows, they might have pulled out a loan for it. You don't know the situation. It's the same thing with like with homeless people. You don't know their situation. But if you walk up to them and just be like, and a lot of them, like, when I was living over in the UK, a lot of them had dogs. And this is, like, one of my little stories from living over in the UK. I carried dog treats in my backpack, and I don't know how many other people do that, but I carried a dog treat, like, always had some dog treats in my backpack. Every time I saw, like, a homeless person's dog, I walked up, I said, yo, I love your dog, I'd love to give him a treat. Now, that makes the person feel important because obviously the person owns the dog, right? You got to make that person feel important. They're just like, yeah, of course, like, give my dog a treat, like, whatever. And so I was all like, here's the treat to the dog. Now, I am, like, the biggest dog lover in the world. And so I'd walk up and I'd give the dog a treat, and I'd sit there and talk to the guy for a minute and be all like, tell me your story. Like, where are you coming from? And I actually met a guy. I'm not sure what his real name was, but everyone in the town called him Smiley. And he went through literally all of these. He smiled at everyone. He remembered everyone's names. He did everything he can to make everyone feel important. And he'd always sing songs about smiling and being happy. And it took me a little bit to kind of like open up to this guy, because first, like, he was a homeless guy. And I was all like, man, this guy, he knows my name. I've talked to him so many times, but it was hard for me to open up to him. And eventually I opened up to him and I was all like, hey man, tell me your story. I want to know, like, where do you come from? And he actually sold everything he had to practically become homeless. And he actually, I believe someone told me that he actually does YouTube videos about being homeless.
Wow.
And it's just weird. In my head, it's just like, what? How can you do that? How can you sell everything you have to practically be homeless and he was just making a statement to the community. Like, there are people out there. And all he wanted to do was make anybody and everybody as important as they possibly can. Because he felt like equality is the biggest thing. And I'm the same way. I do not judge people. I mean, there are some times where I'm just all like, man, that guy should not be wearing that outfit. Like, it is the middle of summer.
We all, right?
Yeah, it's like, it's the middle of summer. Why is he wearing a sweatshirt and pants and, like, snow boots and stuff? Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I've seen that. And I'm just all like, why? But, like, other than that, like, people's personalities, like, don't judge people for who they are. You gotta make them feel important. And if you make people feel important, then you're just gonna be able to build these perpetual relationships.
Let me remind everyone that everyone is equal, and why? Because there was the beginning, and this might sound weird to some, but it is just what it is. The beginning of all things started with a billion other sperms, and only one made it to the egg, and guess who that one was? You, the one listening to this right now, okay? We are all equal. We are all strong. We have all overcome the craziest war battle of biology, and we are here today, and it's important to make other people feel important. What I love about all of that, let's just take all of that and put it in a bag and say that was incredible, because Jake did something that he is totally uncomfortable with, but he desired to help somebody, even at a stoplight. Rolled down the window and chatted with somebody. If you're listening and you're like, dude, I would have never done that, that's kind of awkward, let me challenge you. Let me say something that Tony Robbins has said, okay? Jake just said something, and you're probably thinking, oh man, I would never do that. I'm not the kind of person who talks to people at stoplights. And my response to that is, when did you define yourself? When did you let limitations connect you with what you can and cannot do, right? Don't let those things get in the way. We overcomplicate so many dumb things, okay? I'd rather talk to the awkward person who reaches out and says, hey, nice car, why'd you get pulled over? I would rather talk to that person than the person who says, the sky is blue today, isn't it? You know, I don't want to talk to, there's not value in that, but there's value in the exchanges that we create. Jake may never see the Ferrari guy again. Jake may never talk to him again. If he does, he has a great topic to initiate conversation with again. And if he doesn't, he still made somebody's day. And it made his day, right? So the important principle behind all of this is that when you make people feel important, you actually are fulfilling the other 4 steps that we've gone over. You know, you've engaged with them in genuine conversation. You've smiled with them. You've probably remembered their name, okay? Or something about them that makes you related to them, okay? And then you've also talked to them on terms of personal relations, okay? So there's some really cool stuff here, and I think this is all incredibly important. Now, if you have never read the book, go read the book, because it's an awesome book, and there's some great principles here. It's literally a business Bible for those who haven't, read. Dale Carnegie and the whole Carnegie series is an incredible organization. And if you guys are listening, give us a call, because we can definitely work together. There's some really cool stuff out there that we can help you with. This is the part of the show where we challenge our listeners to do one thing. And I want to kind of get you to think about that while I tell something, and then let's issue a challenge to our listeners. And we hope that you'll take that challenge seriously. So think of that challenge, and I'm going to kind of wrap up the show here. If you've been just tuning into the Circle of Knowledge podcast, or you found us on Facebook, or you've seen us in some of our YouTube videos, we invite you to come, to subscribe, to like, to comment, to give us feedback. If you give us a 5-star review, we will definitely give you a shout out over the air. I do kind of, and I don't encourage this, but I do want to give a shout out to a man who called us out because we had a misspell on one of our podcasts. And you know what? I love it. I love that we're imperfect, and I love that we're human. But he called us out. And he said, "Oh, you don't even know how to spell Circle of Knowledge? More like Triangle of Idiots," is what he said. And you know what? To each is their own opinion, and that's totally cool. And I appreciate and I respect his opinion. And we fixed that spelling error. And we are a great organization, okay? We are filled with knowledge, and we're sharing that value with other people, okay? Despite what you may immediately feel of us. But if you want to be on our show, comment down below, okay? If you were listening to the podcast through a podcast series, you can send an email to me directly at jon@amplifiedminds.com, okay? amplifiedminds.com. jon@amplifiedminds.com, or you can reach any of us at Amplified Minds. That is our social media channel handle on all sites and channels. We also have a specific email for the podcast. If you'd like to be on it or ask questions or feature a question you'd like to have answered on the show, suggest a book topic or any one of those things, it's called Circle of Knowledge Podcast at gmail.com. But just use John, email me personally, because I'll get to it faster, right? And then the other thing I wanted to add, by the way, if you're on Facebook or anything else commenting with this below and you want to be on our podcast, I will send you a schedule link. We typically record on Fridays and sometimes Saturday mornings. This is just a great time to do it. And we will do it up here in Heber City, Utah. We can do it over Zoom. So if you're not in the state of Utah and we can't reach you, we can do it over Zoom. And then the other subject is we have a great recording studio, $1 million recording studio down in Salt Lake City called Ignite Studios. And we love broadcasting from there. So if you want to be on the show, comment below. I'll send you a connection link. If you have any other thoughts or questions or suggestions for us, please let us know. But like I said, you are one of the 15,000 listeners currently listening, whether you like or dislike us. It's just the analytics that are coming through, guys. One more thing. I always do this at our masterminds. I'm always screaming, one more thing. We will be having some courses coming out very, very soon on how to launch your own podcast and how to generate an income from that podcast. If you're interested in that, email me, jon@amplifiedminds.com. If you are interested in attending a private mastermind to grow your business, email me as well, okay? Jon@amplifiedminds.com, okay? And we create and structure masterminds all over the world so that you can take your business to the next level. I know that sounds like a cliche, but we're really doing it. As an accountability coach, I have helped thousands of people achieve at least one goal or more, okay? And I'm doing that on a larger scale now through mastermind sessions. So if you're interested in that, just shoot me an email and let's get on a conversation. We're open books here, no pun intended, Dale Carnegie and how to win friends and influence people. Jake, what challenge do we want to issue to our listeners today?
I've got a challenge, and I hope you guys like it. You may not like it, you know?
I love
might
that
be
you
out
might
of your
not like
comfort
it.
zone.
This is great.
I don't like giving easy challenges. This is one of my things, and trust me, I'm going to do this challenge as well, because it's going to get me out of my comfort zone as well. I want to challenge you guys. I want to challenge myself. I'll challenge Jon, but I know he does it already. Meet one person new every single day and go through this with them. You know, find out their name. Build a relationship with them. This person, if you are a single guy, this could be your future wife. You don't know. If you are a business owner, this could be your next business partner. This could be your next client. You know, find something about somebody that you can connect to. Find somebody every single day. If you don't do it every single day, then bad things will happen to you. I will personally come and find you. I don't know how I will do that, but I will personally come and find you.
Oh, Liam Neeson right there. Liam Neeson.
I will find you. But that is my challenge. I want to challenge you guys. Like I said, it's not going to be an easy challenge. It's not even really that hard. If you were like Jon, it's not going to be that hard. But if you're like me, it is going to be probably one of the most difficult things that I will do. Because one, I am not at school every single day. I'm only there Tuesday and Thursday. So that requires me Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to actually go out and seek people. Because it's easy. I just go to school and just be like, hey, I don't know that person. I'm just going to walk up to them. Now this time it's going to be like walking on the street. I don't know that person. Is that someone that I want to go and talk to? I don't know. That's my challenge for you guys. What I want you guys to do is either message Jon or put it in the comments on this video if you did it, right? Or you can even message me. I don't know how you're going to do that, but we'll just tag me into this. Message me if you guys did that, because I want to hear from you guys, and I feel like this is something that's going to be, that it's going to help me get to know you guys as well, because I'll be able to connect with you guys, relate with you guys, and do that as well. So that's my challenge. Hope you guys can do that. I keep punching it because I feel like this is something that can be done. But yeah,
you're pounding his hand. It is.
I know. I'm like, let's go. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do this.
Well, I'm loving that he's pumped about it because there's so much value in all of it. One of my favorite places to connect with people is at restaurants. No matter how many awkward or deep questions I ask my waiter or waitress, the one thing I know is that they have to come back. Because they have to serve me, they have to give my water, they've got to come get my check, and I love building relationships with those people, and that's a great way to practice. I actually have some great relationships with some great servers and some great restaurants because of that, and I always talk about them, and I'll go online and I'll review it and say, oh, by the way, so-and-so is so fun to talk to, but I've built relationships that way, and it's an easy thing to do and make a habit of. A shout out to one of our other salespersons and an incredible connector. His name's Ashton Jessup. A shout out to you, my friend, and I'll get you on the show one day as well. But Ashton, he walks to work in campus every day, and he makes it his mission to not have headphones in, to not have distractions, and to talk to anyone and everyone along the way. And it's an admirable, what's the word I'm looking for? Trait, because he applies these principles all in everyday tactics. So there you go, Jake. Thanks for being on the show. He'll be back on, guys. It's when I have empty spots, so you need to sign up. If you didn't like this conversation, when I have empty spots, I bring Jake in and we have a great conversation. We also have members of our Amplified Minds team that come in and jump on the show with us as well. We're just now getting rolling. This is season 3 of our podcast, and so we're hoping that you're really, really enjoying it. And if you have suggestions, comments, thoughts, or anything else, let's get in touch. We're building a community, and this is a community of achievers only. So if you're not an achiever, get out. Get out of the way is what I'm saying. Get out of the way, because we are coming. And just like I said, I will find you. Well, all right, guys. We're at 56 minutes. No, we're at 58 minutes and 9 seconds. So I think it's appropriate for us to finish this up. So thanks for joining us. This is the Circle of Knowledge podcast. My name is Jon Kovach Jr., your host. With me today was Jake Kovach. We are cousins. This is an incredible opportunity. Great book, Dale Carnegie. how to win friends and influence people. We'll see you next time on the Circle of Knowledge podcast. Boom! We'll end the live here, and we will end the live here. Alden, thanks for joining us. And yes, we'll have you on the podcast.